Hey there, first off, I just want to say a huge thank you for following along. If you're a UFC fan, or even if you just love the excitement of the fights, this one's for you. Today, I'm going to share some behind-the-scenes secrets about UFC fights that might surprise you. Trust me, these little nuggets of info are game changers for understanding the sport better. Let's dive in. 1. It's all about strategy, not just power. When we watch UFC fights, it's easy to get caught up in the flashy knockouts and the power moves, but what you might not know is that strategy plays a huge role. Fighters spend hours, sometimes even months, preparing their game plans, studying their opponent's weaknesses, and figuring out how to capitalize on them. It's like a chess match with punches. Every move is calculated, and even the wildest-looking attacks have a purpose. A lot of times, it's not about being stronger. It's about being smarter and outthinking your opponent. 2. Fighters don't just train physically. Sure, they're in the gym lifting weights, running and getting in shape, but UFC fighters also train their minds. Mental preparation is just as important as physical strength. They spend a lot of time working with coaches on their mindset, focus, and emotional control. Why? Because when you're in the cage, things can get intense. Staying calm under pressure and keeping your cool is what separates the pros from the rest. 3. The weight cut drama. Ever wonder why some fighters look way bigger in the cage than they do at weigh-ins? That's because of something called a weight cut. Fighters often shed a ton of weight in the days leading up to weigh-ins, sometimes dropping 10 to 20 pounds or more to make their weight class. They do this through extreme dieting, dehydration, and sweating it out. But here's the catch. After the weigh-in, they rehydrate and eat to put most of that weight back on before the fight. It's not as crazy as it sounds, it's all part of the game. But trust me, it's a brutal process and not as glamorous as it seems. 4. The power of the corner. The corner is so much more than just a place to get patched up between rounds. The people in a fighter's corner play a massive role in the outcome of the fight. They give advice, calm their fighter down, and help make adjustments during the fight. A good coach or cornerman can literally turn the tide of a fight just by giving the right advice at the right time. Fighters rely heavily on the wisdom and experience of their team, especially when things aren't going their way. 5. Not all fights are to the death. Okay, this one might seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many casual fans don't know this. UFC fights are incredibly intense, but they're not to the death like some people might think. There are strict rules in place to keep fighters safe, and doctors are constantly monitoring the fighters to make sure they're okay. Fighters have to follow a code of conduct, and there are penalties for any illegal moves. While it's brutal and intense, it's still a sport with its own guidelines to protect athletes. 6. How fighters handle injuries. Injuries in UFC are pretty common, but here's something not everyone knows. Fighters often fight through pain. If you think that knee injury or shoulder issue you saw on TV wasn't real, think again. A lot of times, a fighter will keep pushing through injuries that the average person would need weeks or months to recover from. But here's the kicker. Fighters don't get the luxury of taking time off when they're scheduled for a big fight. A true champion is someone who can deal with pain and still go in and give it their all, no matter what. 7. The importance of the referee. The ref in a UFC fight is more than just the guy who calls the action and counts the knockdowns. They're responsible for the safety of the fighters, stopping fights when necessary, and making sure the rules are followed. Referees are highly trained and have to make split-second decisions to protect the fighters while also keeping the fight fair. If you've ever wondered why a fight got stopped early or a fighter was disqualified, chances are it's because the ref was looking out for their safety first. 8. Fans have a bigger impact than you think. The energy of the crowd has a huge effect on a fighter's performance. Whether it's boos or cheers, the crowd's energy feeds into the fighter's emotions. Some thrive under pressure and love the roar of the crowd, while others might get distracted or even overwhelmed by the noise. It's not just the fight itself. The atmosphere in the arena plays a huge role in how the fighters perform. So the next time you're in the crowd, know that you're not just watching, you're part of the action. 9. Weight classes aren't always equal. One last thing, weight classes are there for a reason, but they don't always mean every fighter in the class is at an equal advantage. Some guys have natural weight advantages and just cut down to make their class, but they're actually walking around much heavier than their opponents. And then there are others who might be at the top end of the weight class and struggle to cut those last few pounds. These little nuances can change how the fight plays out. So it's always interesting to watch fighters' physicality and how they handle the weight difference. There you have it. I hope these little UFC secrets give you a whole new perspective on the fights. Whether you're a die-hard fan or a casual viewer, there's always more than meets the eye in this sport. Thanks for following along and being part of this amazing community. Keep watching, keep learning, and I'll see you at the next fight.